either they're all wrong or one of them's right, because they all make truth claims.
Well, see, and this is exactly the attitude that I'm talking about, the divisiveness that comes from thinking that your one religion is the right way.
Yeah, but what it sounds like to me is that you have a truth claim out here.
You're putting down Buddhism because they don't assign an actual God to something. So you're saying that is obviously an inferior religion to what yours is. What other religions do you want to put down as worse than what you believe? What other gods do you want to put down as not as good as your God? Because that's what I'm basically getting when I mean, like I said, I'm not a religious person. I haven't read the Bible. I don't know. I mean, I know that he didn't write it himself, so I take pretty much all of it with, as they would say, a grain of salt, I guess. Is how I would look at religion in general.
Okay, but you have a worldview.
Of course.
Right. You answer the question, what's my meaning in life? What's my purpose? How am I going to treat people ethically? And what about death or life after death? So what's the worldview that you embrace? In other words, who or what have you put your faith in?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a person that feels like morality has to come from religion. I believe in the golden rule and accepting people for what they are, and, respecting people until they disrespect you, and that's pretty much it, That's
Okay, why do you believe in the golden rule?
Well, I mean, just out of convenience sake, initially, if you do unto others what you would want them to do to you, then everything's going to go a little bit smoother. I mean, it makes sense on a moral level, on a logical level. Yeah.
Okay, now in light of the fact that it was Jesus who said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," doesn't that give him some credibility in your view?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that is. I mean, I'm not trying to say that Jesus was uncredible. I'm saying your argument, this conversation out here, is not helping anybody. It's not helping. It's not helping us. It's not helping. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to attack Jesus. You're trying to spin me to make it to where I'm saying an anti-Christian statement or an some sort of anti-Jesus statement.
No, you just say whatever you want to say. I'm not trying to spin you or anything. I'm trying to genuinely ask you, what do you believe? What are you living for? And what's the evidence that what you're living for is true?
I mean, really, I like to embrace the mystery of life, I know I have lots of friends from different religions, and I take the idea that there is no one true religion. I take the stance that I'm sure Jesus, as the man that he was written to be, would not condemn anybody for what they believe in. I mean, as long as they were peaceful and friendly to their fellow man, I mean, what do I believe in? I don't know. I don't know where we came from. No one knows. I'm not going to know what happens after I die until I die. You know what I'm saying? So I just got to live as well as I can while I'm here,
Okay.
I feel like religion tries to answer sometimes questions that can't be answered,
Good.
If you look at a tribal religion or something, or some peoples before Christianity, or that have never been taught Christianity unless they were, manipulated to believe in Christianity. People try to answer questions that there's not necessarily, where do we come from? What happens after we die? My wife just died. What is going to happen now? And so they pray. People first prayed, sun gods, nature gods, trying to get crops and stuff. And I'm just saying, I don't think I'm not saying one religion is any better, any worse than any other. I'm saying the conversation, the divisiveness that comes from that sort of attitude is one of the reasons why our world is messed up today. And I'm saying your conversation, the arguments you've been having all week over here, I don't really know what it's helping, I don't really know who it's helping. That's all I have to say.
All right, well, you've made some truth statements, haven't you?
I hope so. I mean, it's hard for me. I think all these good things to say, and then once I get up here, I get kind of riled up, and I don't say is what's exactly coming off what I'm actually should be saying, and then you spin it to make me sound like an idiot. So it's tough, You're used to this stuff,
I haven't spun anything, sir. I'm listening to what you say, and I respond based on what you say.
Okay.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've heard you say is, tribal people just sort of believe in their certain religion. Some people believe because it's been forced upon them, through colonization or imperialism.
Unfortunately.
Right. So these poor people are rather ignorant. But what you've come to realize is the truth. And the truth is that it really doesn't matter what you believe when it comes to religion. Have you said that or not?
No, I don't think
okay, I'm sorry. What have you said?
That's what you've taken from it.
Well, please correct me.
I've said what I said. I'm not going to correct you. I said what I said. What you can take from it is what you can take what everyone else that's been saying.
Did you not say that it really doesn't matter what religion you are, they're all the same, and that all religion is basically based in ignorance.
I said that no religion was better than any other religion,
Yeah.
or worse,
Right.
and that the divisiveness that comes from the thinking that your religion is the right religion is one of the reasons why the world is messed up today. That's
All
word
right.
for word what I said.
Some religions
you can take
teach-
that how you want. You can
Some,
take that how you
I
want.
think it's rather clear what you're saying if you think about the logical
Well, you're
ramifications
talking
of what
about
you're saying.
ignorance, and you're spinning all these words that I haven't even said.
Yes, you did. You talked very clearly about people don't know about it, but it's forced on them.
I'm saying in general, it's hard to know what's going to happen or where we came from unless you. I mean, it's a leap. You can't argue science. You can't argue logic versus faith because it's a leap of faith. It's outside of reason technically in that sense as far as like where we came from or where we're going. It's
Yes,
I'm saying-
and you have faith also. You expressed that faith when you said, and all religions are essentially the same. That's a faith statement. You don't know that.
I didn't say that. I said no religion is better or worse than any
Fine,
other.
no
And the
religion is
idea
better or
that
worse.
There's one true right religion. Is the divisiveness that comes from that is one of the reasons why the world has problems consistently since humans have been here. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but some
That's all I
religions
said.
say there are many gods. Jesus Christ says there's one God. Religions say work your way to heaven. Jesus says you can't work your way to heaven. It's a gift that God gives you by His grace. Siddhartha Gautama Buddha never talked once about God, so the existence of God is totally irrelevant to Siddhartha Gautama Buddha. Obviously, Muhammad and Jesus taught that there is a God. So they're obviously contradicting each other, which means they can't all be the same. Either they're all wrong or one of them's right, because they all make truth claims.
Well, see, and this is exactly the attitude that I'm talking about, of the divisiveness that comes from thinking that your one religion is the right way.
Yeah, but what it sounds like to me is that you
you're
have a
basically-
truth
what
claim
you're doing
out
is
here.
You're putting down Buddhism because they don't assign an actual God to something. So you're saying that is obviously an inferior religion to what yours is. What other religions do you want to put down as worse than what you believe? What other gods do you want to put down as not as good as your God? Because that's what I'm basically getting when I hear you talk.
I'm not putting down any religion. I am raising the question of truth, reality.
Yeah, I don't
There cannot be no God and a God at the same time. That's a contradiction. So when you make the statement that all religions are essentially equal, how can you believe that in light of the fact they contradict each other? Is not what you're really saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, there really is no God. These different religions come up, but they're all fantasies. They're all wrong, because in reality there's no God. Or are you saying there is a God, but this God is impersonal, which means this God really doesn't care what you think about God. You can think that God's a white male. You can think that there are many gods. You can think that God is a female. God doesn't care what you think about it. So what are you saying when you say all these contradictory religions are all equal? What do you mean by that?
I'm just saying the religion that you're promoting or whatever you're trying to promote here, there's people in other countries and other parts of the world that are saying that their one religion is the right way and their God is the God, and that divisiveness that comes from that sort of attitude gets people nowhere. It gets nowhere.
So what I hear you saying is all the people in all the world religions are wrong. You are right. All religions are the same. You've said it over and over again.
You're part of the problem, not part of the solution, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Religious
Well,
fundamentalism.
fine, all right. You can make all the personal attacks you want, but
You're making
still, the
personal
question,
attacks.
no, I am pointing out the inconsistency of acting like if I say all religions are the same, that I'm not making a truth claim that contradicts the majority of people on the planet. You've got to understand, when you stand there and say all religions are the same, are equal, you are contradicting the Muslim, the Jew, the Buddhist, the Hindu, the Christian, which is fine. You have every right to do that. I respect your right to do that.
Well, see, what you're doing
But
is
what you've got to realize is you're making your own truth claim. And that truth claim that you're making is a statement that either God does not exist, which means all religions are equal, meaning by that all religions are fantasies that people just construct, or if there is a God, he's just an impersonal force, and God doesn't care what you think of him. You can think that he's a 6'1" white male. You can think God is a power. You can think God is electricity.
I wondered what you think you're doing out here and who you think you're helping.
Great question. One of the people in your administration walked by yesterday, and a faculty member who was out here said to this person rather high up in your administration, what do you think about what this guy's talking about out here? And the gentleman in your administration said, oh, he's just probably out here proselytizing. This faculty member looked at the member of your administration and said, well, I'm really excited. He's helping teach our students how to think. So the reason that we're holding this dialogue is to deal with some of the deeper issues in life, like where do I come from, why am I here, how do I live my life ethically, and is there life after death or not?
We have professors, some of the best professors in the world to teach us.
And they're much better than I am.
I know. That's why I'm wondering why you're here.
Well, you know what the real question is?
Why am I here?
Very good. Now you're thinking.
Oh, it makes
Not only
sense
why
now.
are you here, but why are all these other people here?
All right. Okay. So, you think that Christianity, your religion, what you're preaching is the right way, is the only way, right? The only way.
Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. That's what Jesus said.
You do realize we're in a war right now. In a war, and religious fundamentalism is at the root of this war.
You got to be kidding me. You actually think religious fundamentalism is motivating the United States to be at war?
I mean, that's not exactly what I said. I'm saying the war in general.
Do you honestly think that America is motivated by religious fundamentalism to be involved in our war?
Well, see, you're just spinning the words I said. That wasn't what I'm saying at all.
Well, then why don't you be a little more clear and express yourself more clearly?
I'm saying there's people halfway around the world that are saying that their way is the one right way. And there's people all over the world that think that their religion is the one right religion, the one right religion. This divisiveness has caused pretty much all the violence in our world today. And so I'm just wondering what you think you're helping. Because, I mean, there's people that think they're the one right way, and there's, you that think you're, preaching the one right way. But I'm just wondering what you really think is going to be resolved by you coming out here and disrupting us while we're walking to class and I'm walking to work. And I mean, I just want to know. I just want
You bet.
I want to know what you think what you're really doing to help the problem at all.
I am convinced, to the root of my being, that the solution for war, divorce, hatred, bigotry, sexism is the peace that God gives us when we enter a relationship with Him. And I can promise you, sir, if you will read the Gospels and look at Jesus Christ, as He bleeds and dies on a cross, how does He respond to His enemies? Not, I hate you. Not, I'm going to stick it to you. Instead, Jesus prays, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. When you put your faith in Jesus Christ, He does not lead you into war, into hatred. He leads you to be a peacemaker and to love even your enemy. And when Dr. Martin Luther King went into Birmingham, Alabama to promote civil rights, he did not look into the faces of those white Christian racists and say, you know something, guys, you need to realize that all religion is the same. Instead, he said, you followers of Christ need to take Christ more seriously, and you need to commit your life to Jesus Christ to the point where you realize that your racism is evil because Christ clearly taught that racism is evil.
Right. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I just don't see how you think that you're helping spread peace at all by being out here. I mean, I agree that Jesus, is a very peaceful man, of course, but I just don't see why you think that this is what is going to help the world or help any. I mean, why aren't you doing charitable works? They're trying to promote peace in different countries. We're a peaceful community here at the University of Texas. I mean,
Really?
I just,
Do any of you come from divorced homes?
of course.
Do any of you have a real challenge forgiving people who hurt you? Do any of you struggle with hatred? With racist attitudes? Do any of you struggle with lust and dehumanizing people? Well, maybe you're perfect.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Neither am I. That is why I'm convinced all of us need Jesus Christ. I certainly do, because I'm not perfect. And I can promise you, I hurt with many of the students here whose mom and dad couldn't love each other. Found it impossible. So they had to divorce.
So, what about the other people that don't believe what you believe? I mean, what do you think happens to them? What do you think Christ would have wanted for people that were raised to believe something different, or in what could be characterized as a different God, or basically the same God but worshipped in a different way? I mean, do you honestly believe that that Jesus Christ, one true way? What happens to the other people? What happens to the rest of the world?
Well, obviously, I'm just the mailman. I didn't make up Jesus, right? Jesus lived 2,000 years ago, long before I was ever born. So I'm just delivering Jesus' mail. And what Jesus said in John 3:16-18 is, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Whoever believes is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because he's not believed in the name of God's one and only Son." So that's what Jesus said.
Jesus didn't really write that down, though. I mean,
No, you're right. He didn't write it down. Those who heard him wrote it down.
How many years later?
The Gospels are written between 20 and 60 years after Christ.
Okay, well, I appreciate that you don't have a sign being prejudiced against anybody and stuff. I was just wondering basically what your purpose was here and what you felt like you were doing. But I respect the fact that you're talking to people. Thanks.
What do you think of Christ?
I think he was probably an awesome guy.
Well, if he was an awesome guy, how do you handle him claiming to be God in human form? How do you handle him claiming that he died on a cross for your sin to forgive you and give you a gift of eternal life? How do you handle that?
I don't know if he really claimed all that. I mean, he didn't write the Bible. The Bible was written a long time after by man. Not the Son of God, not God, but by man.
I'm real glad it was written by man.
So I don't really take a literal interpretation of the Bible. I mean,
well, how do you know he was a great guy?
Just from what I read and what I like to think about him, you know.
Yeah. Well, the same literature that talks about him being a great guy talks about him claiming to be God.
Okay.
So
a lot of people didn't like that when he said that, I heard too.
Exactly right. They nailed him for it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Right. So how do you determine when you read the eyewitness account what's true and what's false? Because you obviously accept he was a great guy from the Gospels, but then you just can't handle the idea that he claimed to be God. So, I mean, how do you accept part of it and reject the other part of it? You know, what tests do you use, or what process do you go through?
I mean, I don't use any tests with it. I don't. I mean, like I said, I'm not a religious person. I haven't read the Bible. I don't know. I mean, I know that he didn't write it himself, so I take pretty much all of it with, as they would say, a grain of salt, I guess. That's how I would look at religion in general.
Okay, but you have a worldview.
Of course.
Right, you answer the question, you know, what's my meaning in life? What's my purpose? How am I going to treat people ethically? And what about death or life after death? So what's the worldview that you embrace? In other words, who or what have you put your faith in?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a person that feels like morality has to come from religion. You know, I believe in the golden rule and accepting people for what they are, you know, and, you know, respecting people until they disrespect you, and that's pretty much it, you know. That's
okay, why do you believe in the golden rule?
Well, I mean, just out of convenience sake, initially, if you do unto others what you would want them to do to you, then everything's going to go a little bit smoother. I mean, it makes sense on a moral level, on a logical level. Yeah.
Okay, now in light of the fact that it was Jesus who said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," doesn't that give him some credibility in your view?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that is. I mean, I'm not trying to say that Jesus was uncredible. I'm saying your argument, this conversation out here, is not helping anybody. It's not helping. It's not helping us. It's not helping. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to like attack Jesus. You're trying to spin me to make it to where I'm saying like an anti-Christian statement or an
I'm not.
some sort of anti-Jesus statement.
No, you just say whatever you want to say. I'm not trying to spin you or anything. I'm trying to genuinely ask you, what do you believe? What are you living for? And what's the evidence that what you're living for is true?